Everybody all set? All right, good morning, and thank you all for being here. I want to start by reminding everyone that this Saturday is Flood Recovery Cleanup Day. As we talked about last week, this will be similar to Green Up Day. But Cleanup Day will also include projects in areas where there was a lot of damage due to flooding. Green Up Vermont continues to reach out to towns to identify areas that could use some help. If you're looking for a place to go on Saturday, there's a list on the Flood Recovery webpage on greenupvermont.org. You can also download the Green Up Vermont app to volunteer for specific projects. You'll then receive up-to-date messages. Currently, there are 12 locations that are requesting volunteers. If your town needs help and wants to be added to the list, contact Green Up Vermont. Towns looking for the orange bags can also get them from the nearest AOT district office. But even if Vermonters just want to clean up around your own neighborhood or help out a neighbor out, that's great too, because everything helps. Next, I know many are waiting to hear of when the Vermont Strong plates will become available. The website should be live and people can start placing their orders by Monday. There will be 2 license plate options. The We Are Vermont Strong and the other with Tough 2 added. Each plate will be $35. You can buy as many as you want, and businesses will be able to buy in bulk, but the price remains the same, still $35. This is a fundraising opportunity. This option will allow retailers to offer the plates in person. They'll also be able to obtain them at our DMV branch offices beginning September 1. In addition to the 2 plate options, there will be a limited online deal where you can get a Tough 2 plate and a pair of Darn Tough Vermont Strong socks for $70. We've got Courtney from Darn Tough with us who will share more about this in a few minutes. All funds raised will help support flood victims. Half of the money will be directed to BGAP, our Business Emergency Gap Assistance Program, which was launched several weeks ago. Checks have already begun going out the door, but we know it will not be anywhere near enough. Secretary Curley will have an update on the program in a few minutes. The other half will go to the Vermont Community Foundation, who have done incredible work supporting impacted Vermonters. The day after the main flooding event began in July, they began raising money for flood relief, and grants are already making a difference. So at this point in time, I'd like to turn it over to Dan Smith, President and CEO of the Community Foundation, to talk about the work they're doing and how they put these funds to good use. Dan? Okay, sorry.
Thank you, Governor, and thanks to everybody here. As Governor Scott just shared, I'm Dan Smith. I'm President and CEO of the Vermont Community Foundation. The Vermont Community Foundation was founded in 1986 to be a source of enduring philanthropy that supports Vermont communities. But these are moments in which the response and the level of philanthropy can achieve is really core to our mission. These are the moments for which we really exist. As Governor Scott shared, we launched a flood response and relief fund within hours after the extent of the damage became apparent. And if you take one thing away, just know, as we all know, that Vermonters really step up for each other in a crisis. So to date, we've processed more than 6,000 individual gifts to the Flood Relief and Response Fund. We've raised $6.1 million, of which 2.2 has already gone out the door, and then there's another $2 million of pledges and commitments that are out there. The first phase of the flood response was focused on emergency response and immediate needs, supporting folks like the Red Cross, supporting the Vermont Food Bank, supporting 5 community action agencies and hyper-local organizations that were coordinating volunteers and food in every corner of the state that has been affected. The second phase has been leaning into disrupted small businesses, farms in the ag sector, and individuals and families whose homes have been devastated by the damage. It's really important to recognize that we're merely a conduit. We're a way of activating philanthropy and a good answer for how to give and use resources to show up for your neighbors. That's made possible by key leaders in the employer sector. National Life really early with an incredible 7-figure gift and to the Flood Response and Relief Fund. Folks like TD Bank and the TD Bank Charitable Foundation. Darn Tough Socks, even before they designed the sock that they're sharing today, have made a generous commitment. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Vermont and many others, employers and individuals, have stepped up to help their neighbors across the state. So we're really excited for this partnership, the Vermont Strong License Plate Partnership. The resources will go out every corner of the state. We've already made grants from everyone from the Ainsworth Public Library in Williamstown to the Coventry Community Fund to organizations in Hardwick and Ludlow, up and down the spine of the Green Mountains and the affected areas. Dollars are going to go out the door to make a difference for our neighbors. This is what we do, and this is where philanthropy is one of the things that stitches together communities in really, really important ways. I'd also like to share that today, in partnership with Secretary Tebbets, well, he didn't even make it out here. There he is. We're announcing a $1 million commitment from the Flood Response and Relief Fund into a farmer grant program that's going to support affected farms. That's $1 million. It'll go out in $10,000 increments. The application's live on our website today. The deadline and for the final applications is September 6th. Really to support farms that have lost crops, that have lost infrastructure, lost barns, lost equipment, intended to keep them in production and help them survive the winter months as they think about what the growing season looks like, and intended to sustain our food system as we think about what the coming year looks like. So we're announcing that particular partnership today. The Vermont Strong license plate resources will go into the fund and really help advance the work we're doing to support individuals and families who've been affected and disrupted by the disaster we've experienced. This is one of those moments where Vermont and Vermonters really shine. They step up to each other. They volunteer, like the cleanup this weekend. They give if they can't volunteer. We've seen resources and gifts coming back from all over the state, all over the country, in fact. People who grew up in Vermont, don't live here, people who've visited Vermont. It's been incredibly inspiring to witness the degree to which people care about this place that we all live in and call home. So I want to thank the governor. I want to thank Secretary Curley, who's been a close advisor and helping us coordinate how we're putting these resources to work. Secretary Tebbets. Secretary Moore's been on the phone with us also consistently, helping us think about the role that these particular resources can play in changing the circumstances facing our neighbors right now. So thank you for your partnership, and we're excited about the work we get to do together that lies ahead. I'll turn it over to Courtney from Darn Tough. Again, thank you for all of your support.
It's a tough act to follow. First and foremost, thank you all for being here. Thank you, Governor Scott, for inviting me today. Thank you to the entire team for turning your head to something that we live proudly every day, which is the word tough. Tough is something that we knit into every single product every single day coming out of the heart of the Green Mountains here in Vermont. We have people come out from everywhere in the world. We are represented in over 20 countries, which not a lot of people know. A lot of people are like, oh, it's a small brand out of Vermont. We're a small brand at heart, but we are big, and we bring it across the world. People reach out to us every day saying, I was receiving chemo treatment, and I looked down at my toes, and I saw the words, darn tough. Thank you for telling me that I am darn tough. Folks that are traveling up the AT, for some reason, people want to hike 1,000 miles at a time. That's not my thing. But saying, I looked down at my feet or I looked at my hat and I saw darn tough. So thank you. So thank you to the governor and his team, specifically for wearing your darn tough hat when you were going out in the rain and hiking out to be able to get into town. Looking at the comments on that post was before we were even connected about this project. And Vermonters reaching out saying, wow, darn tough, that sock company. I think that means more than socks. And that's something that we're proud to bring to the table every single day. Darn Tough is so much more than socks. We are about creating tough communities, durable communities. It's more than comfort, durability, fit. It's about being tough together. So that's why we are so excited about this partnership. And without further ado, I will bring, this is the official Vermont Strong and Tough 2 sock. We will have 5,000 units knit here in Vermont at our Northfield and Waterbury facilities. This, of course, will come with our lifetime guarantee, but it is going to be a very small run, and these socks are only available for purchase alongside a license plate. You will not be able to purchase these socks individually. It's a bundle deal, and like the governor had said, this is a great opportunity for Vermonters and folks all across the country to step up and give back. So thank you so much. We are so honored that you thought of us in this partnership, and truly Vermont is tough, and we are really, really proud to be a part of it. Without further, I will pass it to Secretary Curley.
Thank you, Courtney. Talk about a tough act to follow, Courtney and Dan. Thank you so much. I cannot wait to get my socks and my license plate. Good morning, everyone. As the governor mentioned, I'm here today to provide an update on the Business Emergency Gap Assistance Program, or BGAP for short. The Department of Economic Development opened the program application on August 3rd, just 2 weeks after announcing that $20 million in state funding had been allocated to create and launch the program. I'm happy to report that as of last week, checks are starting to go out the door. Since the program application went live, we have received 505 applications from Vermont businesses and rental property owners. The team at DED has been working diligently to review applications and ensure that those grant applications are approved and paid out as quickly as possible. One item of note is that we are seeing around 30% of applications submitted incomplete, meaning staff is sending them back to the applicant looking for more information, whether it's due to missing critical documentation of damages or estimates for replacement materials or inventory. This is slowing down the review process, so we're encouraging all applicants to please ensure their application is as complete as possible. As of the 505 applications, 351 have been deemed complete and moved into the review and approval queue. As of yesterday, 70% of the applications are currently in review or in the queue to be reviewed. 30% are completed and approved for a BGAP grant and moved to payment. A total of $397,136 has been paid out to date, with an average award amount of almost $14,000. Total physical damages being reported within all applications is $134 million, with $108 million in net damages. What that means is that the damages that are being reported less what is uncovered by insurance and other grants. We are thrilled that the money is starting to go out the door to those in need, and I'm grateful for the team that we have working to approve these grants as quickly as possible. If you are applying for a BGAP grant, take the time to submit a complete and thorough application to avoid delays. We know many business owners are still trying to get their documentation together. Our message to those people who have not yet applied is that you haven't missed the application window. The funding is still available, and a complete application will get you the financial support that you need faster. Two things that I would like to note this morning is, first, we've heard that business owners are having some trouble getting contractor estimates for repairs. ACCD has collaborated with the Vermont Builders and Remodelers Association, along with other contractor memberships organizations, to compile a list of general estimates for the purpose of supporting the BGAP grant applications. The list includes several types of repairs, from installing drywall and flooring to plumbing and heating work. If necessary, the figures on this list can be used in lieu of an estimate from an actual contractor. And you can find that estimate list on our website at www.accd.vermont.gov. Second, we know many applicants are anxious to get their grant as soon as possible. We're working as fast as we can, and we're adding staff from other agencies to support this process. I'd like to thank the Agency of Agriculture, Food and Markets, the Agency of Administration, the Department of Financial Regulation, the Department of Taxes, and the Agency of Digital Services for helping us in this effort. To the business owners, we hear you. We know you're waiting patiently, and we're working hard to get more money out the door. In some ways, not hearing from us means your application has been deemed complete and is in the queue for approval. Thank you very much, and I will hand it back over to the governor.
All right, we'll open up to questions.
Governor, it seems like the past few weeks, we're kind of turning into a different stage, if you will. I mean, there's still a lot of unmet need for sure in many places, but it seems like we're kind of in a new stage, as it's starting to kind of get chilly outside. What do you see as the next big challenge that we'll be facing in the state's flood response in the next month?
I think it's an ongoing challenge, and it's housing. And that's where I see the bottleneck in some respects, and something that we're trying to get ahead of. But as you remember, we had a housing crisis before the flooding, and this has exacerbated the situation. So we're doing everything we can to alleviate that. But I would say that's our biggest challenge right now. Secondary to that, obviously, life and safety comes first. But getting the businesses back up and running so that we can pull the communities back together in Barrie and Montpelier, Waterbury, Ludlow, and so forth. Those were the hardest, Hardwick, Johnson, those were the hardest hit. And so trying to get some relief to them, give them some certainty, trying to get them back on their feet.
Any update from you or FEMA about where we stand with the temporary trailers and housing units, maybe where we stand with that?
General Roy can answer that.
Good morning. Yes, the governor requested direct housing from FEMA, and that has been approved for Washington, Lamoille, and Windsor counties. The Secretary of Transportation was kind enough to help us set up a staging area, and so we suspect the first units will be arriving either the latter part of this week or early next week. As to how many, that's a good question. The process is that FEMA, with the information we have from the inspections, will reach out to the individuals and ask them if they need assistance with housing. Many of them are already receiving rental assistance, and so really the housing is focused on those who just can't find a place to live for an extended period of time. Both rental assistance, which is already in place, goes out to 18 months, as does the direct housing go out to 18 months. So in short, to answer your question as to when we expect the first units to arrive, within about a week or so. Now, there's a lot of stuff that has to be done to actually install the first ones, right? We've got to work with the individuals as to where they're going to be located, the permitting for putting them in place, and then to set up, right? You've got to hook up electricity, you've got to hook up septic, etc. So it does take a little while. We are hopeful that by mid to late September, we'll have the first unit installed.
And you said that there's 3 counties. There are some first units. Can you speak specifically where in some of these counties people might be located?
I can't, because we don't know that yet. Right now, we're reaching out to approximately 200 individuals who have, based upon the surveys that we did, inspections we did, on their homes as to the need for temporary housing. And so they're telling us whether they want to have assistance in that direct housing or not. And then based upon that, we'll work with them as to where they would like to have it placed.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's, sorry, William, is that for both renters and homeowners?
Yes.
To be eligible? Okay.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir.
Calvin mentioned it's cooling down a bit. Has there been any issues with getting furnaces to people's homes? The supply chain issue was hard before.
Yeah, ongoing supply chain issues, but I would say the most complicated factor in all of this is workforce, labor. I've spoken to many people in the industry who install furnaces and so forth. They are just working 7 days a week and can't catch up. And so we're actively pursuing any opportunities we can to alleviate that, but it just comes down to numbers. Getting the furnaces and other electrical devices, because it's not just the furnace. If there's been electrical damage in the home or in the manufactured unit, whatever it is, that has to be rectified at the same time. So you can't just put a furnace in without having the electricity provided in a safe manner. So it's complicated, but workforce, big challenge for us.
What are you thinking in terms of how to alleviate that?
Well, again, we're reaching out to any other partners we may have throughout the country, but until we have a real sense of what we're dealing with, hard to put that plan into place. But we're reaching out to those who are retired that might be able to come back, people who have electrical licenses that can be reinstated. I mean, there's all kinds of different approaches. And then the homeowners themselves are trying to figure out whether they want to even be back in the same location or not. So it's a big puzzle, but we're actively pursuing this every single day. This is probably, as I said before, this is what keeps me up at night, and this is the path we're following, and this is what we're focusing on, is the housing piece.
If workers were to come in from out of state to help install these various things, are there licensing issues?
Yeah, but we've already alleviated some of those, and we will continue to alleviate them as they come forward. And that's what the state of emergency, the declaration allows us to do that. So as we find an obstacle, we'll make sure that we alleviate it.
General Roy, the temporary housing units, I'm just curious, how are they heated?
So these are, thank you very much. Yes, these are actually were built for northern environments. So have insulation for the skirting area. We'll have insulation under there. The water lines will be wrapped and heated, and so they're set for Vermont. Thank you, ma'am. And if I could, I did miss the opportunity at the last press conference on the charitable charitable opportunities there, to once again emphasize that we FEMA fully recognize that all disasters start with volunteerism, and they finish with volunteerism, right? The first ones that go help the neighbors, are volunteers. And then at the end of the day, when the state and locals and FEMA, have provided all we can, there's usually a gap there. And so, Governor, having Subaru, having this to help fill that gap for those people that are in need is such a delight to watch as a fellow Vermonter as well, because we know there's going to be need, and anticipating that so that it's there is absolutely phenomenal to watch. So, Governor, thank you so very much.
Governor, as we talked about, Congress, when they come back, they're going to be working on a supplemental funding measure. But we've had a few more natural disasters, Hawaii, California, since then. What is your concern level or is there a concern that we might miss out on some of funding, or we might not get as big of a slice of the pie as before?
I think that's it's always been a concern. We know there's no guarantee here, but we are very hopeful that our congressional delegation will be able to make the case that we have a lot of affected Vermonters, that the the cold weather season is fast approaching, and we need some help. We need more resources in order to provide for the health and safety of our residents.
Are you able to give even like a ballpark estimate of how much money from DC could help fill that gap?
It's, anything will help. We are actively pursuing many different levels, and trying to anticipate, how do we think big about this as well, so that we can prevent some of this flooding in the future. More mitigation measures are intertwined with our ask. So it's a significant number, and I don't know what they're going to include, but we've had some initial conversations with them. The other complicated factor with the temporary units even is that these units, and understandably, FEMA doesn't want to place them in an area in a floodway. So that, again, further complicates the whole puzzle. So we're working through that.
We have a few on the phones we'll go to. We'll start with Tim McQuiston, Vermont Business Magazine.
Governor, it's sort of not germane to this conversation, but the hospitals are going through their budget process now. And as everyone knows, it's, healthcare is so expensive, but the hospitals are also suffering. How do you see this? How would you like to see this all play out?
Well, obviously, we've seen the impact of the pandemic in terms of inflation and other areas. Workforce continues to be a big challenge for Vermont, and that's impacting our hospitals and raising the costs of healthcare. So we're all going to have to work together. The Green Mountain Care Board is taking the lead on this, as they should, and we just need the hospitals to be able to survive, but at the same time it has to be affordable. So everyone's trying to find that balance.
Okay, I guess we'll wait and see how it all plays out. Thanks, Governor.
Tom Davis, Compass Vermont.
No questions today. Thank you very much.
Ed Barber, Newport Daily Express.
Yeah, good day, Governor. My question is also off topic. Recently, 2 of the 5 small animal veterinary clinics have shut down due to retirement, which affects about half of the small animal owners up in the Orleans County area. We're kind of getting close to crisis mode. What can the state do to start bringing more veterinarians into our community?
Well, it's a problem that seems to plague us in many respects, and whether we're talking about veterinarians or we're talking about nurses, we're talking about educators, talking about tradespeople, it's the same issue. Our demographics are impacting us. We're seeing more people retire. Our state government is in the same situation. We have 10% of our workforce is open in state government because of all the retirements and so forth, and we can't catch up. We're trying to hire, as are many people across the state, but it's difficult because we don't have the people here. And so we will do everything we can to attract more people. I wasn't aware of that situation up in the kingdom. But we'll do everything we can to help out. We did have, I think, there was a program, this was large animal vet, where we were subsidizing some of the education costs associated with that, and we'll do whatever we can to try and draw more people into the state.
Okay. I just point out that this also covers the northern half of Essex County, which doesn't have any veterinary service. They would have to go to New Hampshire, and these services were big enough that it had to affect at least half the population up here. So we could appreciate anything the state could do, even if it's temporary. To be able to get more veterinarians up in our community.
Yeah, we'll
Thank
definitely.
you.
Yeah, we'll definitely take a look. But as we look far beyond this, this initial emergency situation, like with veterinarians and so forth, we have to look at the long term, and we have to make Vermont more affordable so we can draw more people into the state and keep them here. That's going to be, something that I've talked about for the last 7 years, but without that component, we are going to be, pushing this rope uphill. So we'll continue to make the case with the legislature to live within our means, so that we can, again, make Vermont more affordable to attract more people here.
Great, thank you very much. That's all I have. Have a good day.
Back to the room. Governor, also, I guess unrelated, do you plan to watch the GOP primary debate tonight?
If I have time, we'll see. My day and night isn't planned around that event, but we'll see what happens.
If you were to, what would you hope to hear, from some of the candidates and some of the...
Well, some of them I know, and just a vision for, our future here in the U.S., and what they would be focusing on as president, and what they have to offer. So, and how do they plan to pull us together? The polarization across our country, political polarization, is something that could tear us apart. And I'm looking for, words of wisdom from them as to how we can alleviate that and pull us together as Americans, rather than as Democrats or Republicans.
Are you going to the Fish benefit concert?
I have no plans to go to the Fish concert, but I don't even know when it is. But it's over in New York, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Probably not.
I think it's this weekend.
Yeah. Oh, I'm participating in Cleanup Day here in Vermont, so I don't know how I could be in two places at once.
There's no better way to unwind after a day of work.
I think my unwinding days are far in the future. All right. Thank you all very much.